We have a hot topic for you in this video. Is it good or bad to date a coworker? We'll go over different situations and viewpoints to help you see both the pros and cons of getting into a workplace relationship. So, if this is something that interests you, or if you've been in this situation before, stick around as we break it down. Let's get started. Company policy. The first thing you need to think about is your company's rules about dating a coworker.
It's come to my attention that you two are back in a romantic relationship when you both know it's against the rules.
Even today, some people see workplace relationships as a big deal, so it's important to know if your job allows it. Some companies don't allow employees to date because they want to avoid problems that could affect work. Others allow it but may ask you to tell HR so they can make sure there are no issues, like favoritism or conflicts of interest. If one person is the other's manager or supervisor, there are usually stricter rules because it could lead to unfair treatment or complaints from other coworkers. If your company has a policy against dating coworkers, not following it could cause problems, like getting a warning or even losing your job. That's why it's always a good idea to check the rules first by reading the employee handbook or asking HR. This way, you won't have to worry about breaking any rules or facing problems later. Relationship hierarchy. Like we mentioned earlier, being in a relationship with a coworker means you have to know if your company allows it, especially if you both have different work positions. Some companies may allow coworkers to date, but things can get complicated when one person has authority over the other. If one of you is in a higher position, like a manager, supervisor, or team lead, and the other is a direct report, dating could create problems at work. Other employees might think promotions, raises, or special treatment are based on the relationship instead of performance. Even if that's not true, just the idea of favoritism could create tension among coworkers. For example, if a manager is dating an employee on their team, other workers may feel like they're being treated unfairly. If the relationship ends badly, it could make the workplace uncomfortable and even lead to HR involvement. That's why many companies have strict rules against relationships between supervisors and employees. To avoid these problems, some companies require one person to transfer to a different department if they want to stay in the relationship. If your company has rules like this, it's important to understand them before getting into a relationship with a coworker, especially if you have different work positions. Personal circumstances. Another thing to consider before getting into a relationship with a coworker is how much this job matters to your long-term career. If you see the job as temporary and don't plan to stay there for a long time, dating a coworker might not be a big risk. However, if this is a job where you want to grow and advance, you need to think carefully before starting a workplace relationship. For example, if you work in retail, a restaurant, or a part-time job, dating a coworker might not affect your future career as much. But if you're in a professional setting with long-term career goals, a workplace relationship could limit opportunities or create challenges if things don't work out. Another thing to think about is workplace reputation. If the relationship causes drama or ends badly, it could affect how managers and coworkers see you. Some people might find it unprofessional, and it could make teamwork or promotions more complicated. Before deciding to date a coworker, try to ask yourself these questions. 1. Is this job important for my career growth? 2. What happens if the relationship doesn't work out? 3. Will it make work uncomfortable for me or others? Once you have determined your answer to these questions, I'm sure you will have already made a smart decision that won't cause you problems later. Potential complications. We've talked about the technicalities and workplace rules of dating a coworker, but one of the most important things to also think about is the relationship itself and how it will affect both of you if things don't work out.
Hey,
A breakup can be tough in any situation, but when you have to see your ex every day at work, it can be even more complicated. If the breakup is amicable, you might be able to keep things professional. But if it ends on bad terms, it can lead to an uncomfortable work environment that affects both of you. For example, imagine working on the same team as your ex. Simple things like meetings, projects, or lunch breaks could feel awkward. If there's lingering tension, it could affect how well you communicate and work together. In some cases, one person may feel hurt or resentful, leading to work conflicts that could impact performance. It could also be a problem if one person moves on before the other. Seeing an ex start a new relationship at work might create jealousy or discomfort, which could make it hard to stay focused. In the worst cases, personal issues could turn into HR complaints if either person feels uncomfortable, harassed, or treated unfairly. Before getting into a workplace relationship, ask yourself these questions as well. 1. Can we stay professional if things don't work out? 2. Would it be uncomfortable to see each other every day? 3. How will this affect our work and coworkers? Being prepared for these possibilities can help you decide if the relationship is worth the risk or if it might create more problems in the long run. Professionalism. When dating a coworker, it's important to stay professional so you don't run into problems at work, especially if your roles involve competition, like going for the same promotion or raise. In any job, people are judged based on how well they work, how they contribute to the team, and their leadership skills. If you and your partner are both trying for the same promotion, it can make things complicated. If one of you gets it and the other doesn't, it might cause frustration or disappointment. Even if you try to handle it well, it could still feel awkward and create stress in the relationship. Other coworkers might also notice the situation and start making comments. Some may think that one of you had an unfair advantage because of the relationship, even if that's not true. This could lead to gossip or change how people interact with you at work. So just be ready to keep things professional and mature when you finally decide it's worth being in a relationship with a coworker, so you both can avoid unnecessary problems and make sure your relationship doesn't affect your work in a negative way. Time together. Another important thing to think about before starting a relationship with a coworker is how much time you will be spending together. Being around each other all day at work and then outside of work can lead to too much reliance on each other. This might make it harder for both of you to have personal space and grow individually, which are important for a healthy relationship. In any relationship, it helps to have some time apart to focus on your own interests, goals, and friendships. But when you work together and are also in a relationship, it can be hard to get that space. You might find yourselves always talking about work, even when you are supposed to be relaxing. For example, if one of you wants to spend time alone or with other friends, the other might feel left out or ignored. Over time, this can cause stress in the relationship. Also, if there is ever a disagreement at work, it might carry over into your personal time, making it hard to separate work issues from your personal life. So, both of you should make time for your own activities, keep work and personal life separate, and talk openly about how to balance time together and apart to keep your relationship stable. So that basically wraps up our list. But keep in mind that there will always be other things to consider depending on the situation. So it's best to think ahead and discuss things with your coworker or the person you're considering a relationship with. There are a lot of rules and factors to think about because it's not just about the relationship itself. Your job, work reputation, and professional relationships are also involved. Before we end this video, I just want to say that falling in love with a coworker isn't a bad thing. Love is natural, and relationships can happen anywhere. But dating a coworker can be more complicated than other relationships because it comes with workplace rules and expectations that you have to follow. So, if you ask me right now whether it's worth it to date a coworker, I'd say you probably already know the answer. You just have to be honest with yourself about what's best for you. If you find this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe so we can guide you on the next one.